You all were thinking it, so we might as well. I'll go ahead and say it. Y'all go ahead.
Hey, Coach, in one of your sub packages recently, I know Man played all the snaps this past Sunday, but in one of the sub packages, he's been coming off and Noah Sewell's been staying home. What do you like in that package that Noah brings that caused you to take Man off?
Yeah, well, look, there's a lot of factors that kind of go into that. Noah's got the green dot, so the communication factor was part of it. We did it 1 week, and then really, last week, Maine was going to be in that package. So there's probably a lot more into it than that. But
how's the communication when Maine is it when you leave Maine in there and if he doesn't have the green dot? How do you communicate?
It's pretty easy. It's a limited package, so it's pretty easy to get it figured out. Yeah.
Dennis, what are your thoughts on having the 3 top interceptors in the league on your team?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a good thing. Our guys, I think, have done a really good job of taking advantage of their opportunities. When their opportunities present themselves, they've been making the play. And so, and I've, been saying this all along, I think, it's a testament to, our assistant coaches in terms of getting these guys prepared and understanding where these opportunities are going to present themselves. It's a testament to our players and in terms of their study habits and watching the tape and understanding how the offense is trying to attack us. And so there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I think Ben made mention of on the one interception, I think it was KB's interception last week, there was some pressure that ended up getting to McCarthy, which I think hurried the throw or created an ill-advised throw or whatever the case may be. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, and I think our guys are preparing the right way, and they're taking advantage of their opportunities.
What do you remember about the 2021 game against Rogers? It was in Jacksonville, I think, right? Because of the storm.
Yeah. Well, I remember we spent a month in Dallas. Yeah, I mean, it was, we played well that week. Our guys came out and played well. We were able to get a little pressure on him. And so I think that's the key when you play Aaron Rodgers. Look, he's a hell of a quarterback, veteran player. He's seen it all. It's hard to fool him, and so you have to be able to affect him, in the pocket. And I think we were able to do that a little bit in that game, as I recall.
When you prepare for the Steelers, how much of it is preparing for Rodgers versus Arthur's offense?
Well, it's a little bit of all of it. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of all of it. Obviously, there's a little uncertainty in terms of what his availability is going to be. So, you're studying, in particular, you're studying the scheme, and then you're preparing for the scheme, and yet you understand how each quarterback likes to operate. There's plenty of tape on Mason Rudolph, and obviously plenty of tape on Aaron too. So yeah, we've spent a lot of time on it.
Understanding as a defensive coordinator, your job is to work with whatever you have out there. What's the feeling for you with Jalen back on the field, Kyler trending the right way, ideally TJ back sometime soon?
Look, they're good players, and so getting those guys back out on the field and getting them going, I think is going to help our defense. And so we're excited about having them out there. Both those guys, look good right now. So anxious about getting them on the field.
Dennis, is the position switch for Tremaine, does that put him in a better position or more advantageous position for the interceptions? I know he'd have 5 if that one wasn't called back.
Yeah, I think so. I think I think his skill set fits that position in terms of the things that we ask that position to do, and the size and length and the athletic ability. And so I think that's been good. I think when you're kind of in the middle, there's a lot of communication and things that have to occur, and you're able to kind of take a little bit of that off his plate, and he's a little bit more free to just go play, and I think that's been good for him. So I think he's adjusted to the position switch pretty easily.
DK Metcalf, do you see differences in how he's used in Pittsburgh's offense versus all those years with Seattle?
Look, I mean, I hadn't spent a ton of time going back to see, um, what Seattle was doing with him. I know we played him a couple years ago in New Orleans. Um, I see the same type of receiver. I see a big, physical receiver. I see a guy that's really good in contested catch situations. I see a guy that is really good in catch and run type situations. He's a tough tackle. So we have to be able uh, to manage that physicality that he plays with. I think that's one of the biggest factors that he has.
Trying to deal with the emotions and the grief of last week and come out, not only just play the game, but make that huge interception. What did that tell you about his character and how prepared he was to still play that
Yeah,
game?
look, I mean, Shawnee's done a great job for us all season long. A guy that quite honestly, we didn't expect to play this much. But you even saw it in training camp. You saw the guy continue each and every day. He got a little bit better, and he's continued to find ways to get his hands on the football and play good football for us. So for him to go through what he went through, last week, and still have the resolve to really play well. And it wasn't just the interception. There were some other plays in the game that he played exceptionally well. So I was proud of the way that he responded, and that was good to see.
Yeah, if it is Mason Rudolph, what particular challenges does he present?
Well, he's a bigger, strong-armed quarterback. I think he pushes the ball down the field pretty consistently. So we're gonna have to make sure that we can keep a roof on the coverage and stay on top of everything, in particular with him in the game.
Bird has a unique player at tight end in Washington. He's 311 pounds, but he also gets out in routes and catches passes. How does that challenge you in terms of packages and who you're going to put in? Because he's essentially another tackle in the run game, but he's also a receiver in the passing game. How does that challenge you in terms
Well,
of?
I think in general the tight end position that they have is a very talented group, and they all have a unique skill set, and they use them all in different ways, and so I think our ability to defend these tight ends is going to be important, in this game. And like I said, each one of them has a different skill set and things that they do really well, and so it all presents a lot of challenges for us.
He had the one play the other day where he's trucking guys and getting down the sideline. Is that something that you tell your guys about and it gets their attention?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he's a factor when he's got the ball in his hands. Because he's really athletic. He can run, and he's tough to get down. So we're going to need, when they throw the ball to him, we're going to need a lot of hats around the ball.
You mentioned the sort of wisdom of somebody like Aaron Rodgers. As you said, you're probably not going to be able to fool him. What physically does he still do really well when you watch him on film?
Yeah, look, I still think he moves around in the pocket well. I don't know that he's creating the plays down the field as much with his legs like he did when he was a little younger, but he throws the ball. He's got a really quick release, gets the ball out of his hands. It's hard to get to him. He gets the ball out of his hands really quickly. He throws the ball accurate, good timing, all those kinds of things. So he plays a cerebral game at the quarterback position, and that's challenging for us.
Whether it's this week or I guess within the next 3-week stretch, if Kyler gets activated off IR, Ben said yesterday about keeping CJ on the field. He's still a playmaker. Does that excite you, or is it more of a challenge to think about how you can get both of those two?
No, we'll figure that out. I mean, give us as many good football players as you can give us, and then that's our job to figure out how to, get them on the field and put them in positions to make plays. So we've always been excited about, being able to do that and work with those guys. So
Kyler's, just his experience playing outside, does that give you a potential different sort of matchup, being able to use him outside of his normal spot when he comes back?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think all those guys have flexibility in terms of what they can do. And so, it's been fun, kind of getting up there and, looking through what we can do and how we can utilize, each and every one of those guys and have all those guys on the field at the same time.
Also, Declan, we heard a lot from Ben and Caleb just about the corner cat blitz that Flores' group showed. Can you just explain the difference between a normal corner blitz and the corner cat? Is it just you have to account for the safety? Like, what is the challenge for Caleb?
So really, those two things you're talking about are the same thing. Corner cat sometimes we'll talk about as like just a single pressure player. Usually that comes from the boundary, depending on the defense you're playing. And then kind of what they were doing, they were bringing both. So they were bringing it from the field and the boundary at the same time. A lot of times that leaves space in the interior of the defense for the passing game and things like that. But it puts a lot of stress on your protection and your eyes, just as far as how you need to protect the quarterback. It also puts a lot of stress on the edges of the perimeter of the run game. For the wideouts, a lot of times they don't have leverage to be able to go block those players. So it can be a problematic thing when teams want to, dial that up. The challenge is they have a lot less bodies to defend the, both the sideline and the interior of the defense. And so it's kind of that cat and mouse game. We hadn't seen a ton of it from Flo, but as we talked about last week, he kind of gives you something new that stresses you every game. And they brought that, and that was something that we kind of had to adjust to on the fly.
Is it advantageous that Caleb just went against that defense, knowing that the Steelers also blitz a significant amount?
I think it's week to week always. But yeah, I mean, anytime we're dealing with certain protection rules, there are things that carry over, but every defense is unique. They're all going to bring their own challenges. And, really that's the main thing is you kind of wipe the slate clean. You're going against a new coordinator, a new personnel grouping on the other side. And really you are attacking a brand new scheme every week.
I know there were TJ Watson.
TJ Watt is slippery. He plays with high effort. They have elite get off, both edge players. They're really good, and he gets the football out. That's really the biggest thing about their defense is the takeaways that show up. But he's a guy that you have to account for in every snap. We've gone against these guys a few different times, and that's always been a kind of a key to their defense is the edge players and the get off.
Ben talked about wanting to have those 2 third down deep shots back. But is that the next step for Caleb? Is just to be more accurate with the deep stuff? And how do you work on that during the season?
I think there are a lot of next steps. Certainly, we want to be able to connect more frequently on things like that. When we have opportunities and shots down the field where we feel like we have a guy with separation, it's on both the wideout and the quarterback to be able to go handle that. And also, we want him to be able to start playing through those progressions when those things don't present themselves to be able to, expedite his process to get the ball underneath. And so, answers yes and no. We do have to get better in that regard, but there are a lot of different areas that we're working to grow every day.
Follow up to that, what's the process of getting Caleb in a better position to make throws to his receivers on contested catches? Not necessarily 50-50 balls, because I know we talked about that a lot yesterday, even if it's somewhere between 50 and 100.
Mm-hmm.
What is the process there, or what can Caleb do better?
I think it's a little bit of an evaluation during the week of how comfortable are you throwing, that specific route to that player, and then getting a look from, whether it's our scout team defense or we're going against our first team defense, and getting used to those concepts, kind of that yes/no of when you pull the trigger on some of those routes. That's the biggest thing, and it changes week to week because the game plan changes week to week, but it's that comfort level that you're trying to get him to on Sunday where he can go out there and he doesn't have to think, he can just go execute.
Declan, Ben mentioned yesterday the importance of understanding depth of pocket this week. What's unique about what the Steelers do that makes that an extra focal point in terms of, obviously it's a focal point every week, but with this particular group?
The speed off the edge is the biggest thing. So a lot of times you'll get teams or rushers that are bull rush players that are just trying to crush the pocket. These guys have great get off, and the biggest thing is, they're rushing your edges. They can get to the top of that pocket pretty quickly, and so you got to make sure that if the quarterback continues to lose depth, you start to put the tackles in a challenging position where they don't know where the quarterback is. They're always trying to put themselves between the rusher and the ball, and so the deeper you get, the harder that becomes on those tackles.
What's the biggest responsibility for Caleb in that regard of being cognizant of that?
To make sure that he's at the depth, given the play, the depth that is required for that concept.
Is that difficult though, given the success he's had at kind of getting out of there, especially if he goes too deep?
No, because those are principled things like within every play. Like it doesn't change from this week to when we started training camp. And so, on a given concept, we're going to expect him at a certain yardage. And if he's beyond that, he needs to be stepping up into that pocket. And that's why the interior portion of the protection is really important as well, to be able to establish an area that he can step into and still keep his eyes down the field.
Declan, people talk about Watt and Highsmith. What have you seen of Nick Herbig that's led to his success?
I think all those edge guys do a really good job of evading blocks and the get off. Same thing. Like their get off is elite. It's among the best in the league. I think that they do a good job as a staff preparing those guys and putting them in position to go have success. Have a ton of respect for the longevity that they've had there. But really across the defense, they do a good job of playing with, fundamentally sound football, and they're a very physical unit.
When you look at from week one to where the team is now, where have you seen the offense get the most comfortable?
I think there's a ton of different areas that we look different from week one till now. I don't know if I could specify one specific area. It's all the little things that add up. It's the consistency. That's probably the biggest thing. Is we go out there and the expectation is starting to be matched. We need to make sure that we still have a long way to go. We really haven't done anything yet, and that's really the mentality. Is we have to grow every day if we want to get to where we think we're capable of going. We have to keep our foot on the gas. There is no let up. There is no off day. It's we're trying to go 1-0 today and have a great day. And that really is going to continue to be the message to our guys.
You said the expectations being met. When you're starting from scratch, how long does that take for it to not be an aspirational thing, but just something that gets done?
Yeah, I think the first thing is it starts with language. I think Ben did an unbelievable job of that when he came in to be very clear about the vision of what he wanted, and then also to back that up with visual evidence of this is what that looks like, whether that's that's how we play or that's the concepts we're using. But you're trying to show everybody to kind of get them on board, and then you start to implement that in practice. You start to implement those, the fundamentals, the ideas of what we're trying to get done. And then once guys feel like they're having success at that, you start to feel the buy-in from the rest of the group. And so it's kind of a long process, and yet I think our guys have done a great job of really buying into it, and you're starting to see it flash. We still want to see it more consistently happening from down to down.
You guys have thrown a lot of Caleb from the outset. How do you see him not only digest that information, but also implement it better now than he was in the beginning?
Yeah, that was really the reason I remember in either off season or training camp, everybody was looking at us funny for throwing a bunch at him, and we knew this was kind of the vision of where we wanted to go. We were going to give him a lot of information that he was going to have to process, and he was going to learn how to process it quicker and get better at it. He's done that every week, and that's something that we're still working through. But I think that he would tell you right now he's come a long way from the first day of the off season until now, and we still got a long way to go, and that's the message.
Declan, this is more of a 10-game question than a last week question, but what have you learned about Ben as a late game, close game overseer of things and calling plays?
Ben has extreme confidence in what he's doing. He's very comfortable in big moments. I know that Caleb has been talked about that way. Ben is that way. Ben prepares for those moments, and because of that, once we get there, it's not really like we're not confident in that moment. He very much knows what he wants, how he sees things going. He's very clear at communicating that. If things change on the fly, he does a great job of communicating that to the staff and the players. And I think that's what is a separator in those big moments. I mean, a lot of these games are won in the last 2 minutes, and it's a huge advantage with him on our side.
How much of that is his late game clock management too? I mean, he said it the other day, to have 3 timeouts with 50 seconds left, with or without the 56-yard return, he felt confident because of that.
Yeah,
Your perception.
I think he does a great job at both things. So obviously as the offensive play caller, and then as the head coach managing the clock and putting our team in a position to go out and have success, whether that's a last drive or that's the defense finish and us going to a knee. I think in those moments he's ready for it and he's been prepared for that.
When you look at where the running game was early in the season to where it is now, second in the league, what have been a couple of the factors that you believe have led to that ascent?
Yeah, I think the players, one, understanding what we're asking, and then two, the implementation of the fundamentals, our pad level, just the mentality of when we call a run play, kind of the attitude that we want to take, when we're attacking the defense. And I think that you're starting to see our guys really buy into that and believe it. And so, it becomes kind of, seen from the outside now that our guys are buying into, what we've been coaching.
Thank you.
Thanks, Declan.
Love the execution in multiple phases in that game. Obviously, it's hard to be perfect in every phase of a game when you're dealing with the whole team in a lot of different phases, but was happy in multiple phases the way they played the game. All right, and then I'm really happy about how they ended the game with the game on the line. We felt like we were close on a couple different returns throughout that game, but when we needed it most, we made a huge play in that ball game. Kudos to the guys blocking out there on their unit. Kudos to Duvernay for making such a big play. Happy with the resolve out of Cairo. He is a pro's pro. I mean, his tenure in this league, and to see him finish the ball game the way he did was outstanding. And also congratulations to him for breaking the record for having the most plus 50-yard field goals in franchise history. So with that, we can open it up to questions.
What stood out the most about the
What'd you say?
What stood out the most about the kickoff return was the no blink to me, not the actual play, the no blink in the huddle before the play, and the no blink in general. Obviously, we understand there was a play in the game that we felt like we didn't like, obviously with the punt return, with that play going like it did, and it being a 10-16 ball game with obviously 10 minutes left after that play. So it was a lot of football to play, and there was no blinking our guys. They were in the huddle every play saying that they're going to make a play and that they could execute, and they were gonna come out victorious. So the belief, all right, and the mindset that they have, obviously guided by our head football coach, is permeating through our football team, and that's what stood out to me the most. Now, when you get to the play, the guys did an outstanding job of maintaining their leverage, doing a really good job moving their feet, playing with technique and fundamentals. Obviously, they played penalty free on that play. Dude's been close on a number of them. I mean, that one was a big play up the right sideline, just like the Cincinnati play. Obviously, we didn't have a good technique on the Cincinnati play, but for the group to be resilient and have resolve and come back at an opportunity to make a play there and move their feet, play with the proper technique, Duve to sell it as long as he sold it, and Blackwell, who had a play that he didn't like earlier in the game, right? To come out and make a key block and seal that edge or kick out that edge for us was just outstanding. So those are the things that stood out about the play. And again, just happy for the guys. They deserve the credit. They're the guys on the field making plays. And obviously, it's a big play for us, but we got a huge challenge this week.
Richard Hightower's been in the league for a long time. And he's talked about just like the difficulty of that. From your perspective for the 56-yard return, can you speak to the level of difficulty? Because there's this perception out there that anybody could apparently do that return. How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it in any way. I see, the ball kicked off to us, ball in our hand, and we had an opportunity to make a play. And it's kudos to our guys that went out there and executed our technique, executed our scheme, executed our call. I'm not sure what the perception is or anything like that. I mean, all I know is positivity in our room, and we know when it's time on the clock, don't give us a chance. That's what we know. Anytime it's time on the clock, don't give us a chance. Offense, defense, or special teams.
Bill told me that it was his fault that the puck got out when it started to come back. What was the exact breakdown on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's kudos to J.O. for standing up on that. Obviously, there's what he's speaking to on that play is that he knows he has to keep inside leverage on the ball. We knew that returner was a phenomenal returner. We talked about that last week, and actually we talked about that before we ever played the Vikings this year. If you guys remember me telling you that guy's a really good returner, and I expect him to be a really good returner for years to come. So there was no secret on the challenge of facing the guy. He just had to stay outside leverage and keep the ball on his inside shoulder. And then when the net spreads, he'll funnel it to the net. And if you don't do that, on a left kick, when you jump inside on a left kick, you got all that field on the right side with a 4-2, 4-3 player. It's going to be hard for those guys on the inside that don't run as fast to be able to get there. And Hardy did a phenomenal job getting down the field. And the guys just lost leverage, just don't have enough speed. So you got to keep it in the net, right? Like the other plays, he got some yardage, but those other plays, they kept it in the net. And that's the difference on that play. And that's what we need to do a better job of going forward.
You mentioned Cairo's resolve. How do you sort through a day that was really, really good, but has one high-profile miss there in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I mean, the kid was 4 for 5. He broke a huge record, He's resilient, he's consistent, he's clutch, he's dependable. He got a game ball after the game, Duve got a game ball after the game. Those guys have worked their tail off, and coach get those kids game balls. And I mean, not only those kids, I mean, even Moody, who got signed, and Washington, hell, he got a game ball for finishing the game like Cairo did. So in our room, it's a huge deal when somebody gets an opportunity to go to another place and have a job, because we always preach in our room, come in here, work your tail off. You're playing for 31 other teams, not only this team. That's what you have to do, whether you're a running back, a receiver, whatever you are, and nurture those guys and try to help them wherever stage of their career they're in. So I just think the resolve in Cairo rubbed off and helped that kid too, to answer your question, just the way he's a professional. So it just goes to speak to Cairo's unfazed. He really unfazed. And it's a lot of people that deserve a lot of credit, even outside of Cairo. Cairo made the kick, but there are so many different people that help make that possible. And people wouldn't even know. Our people in operations, Nick, Kyle, all the people driving the golf carts to take us to go to the indoor when we're practicing outside, because we need to go inside because the wind is different, to see the kick lines, to Fabian helping with all our filming, and all the guys that never get any credit for anything. Nick, he was our equipment guy that gets extra balls for us to make sure we have the right balls that we kick when we're in the indoor, when we're not practicing outside, or when we are practicing inside, to make sure that we have a premium opportunity for that one kick. So we make sure we go inside, we make sure we do different things so that when the moment comes, it's not new to us. And there's so many other people in this organization that work in our performance staff, our personnel staff, that have worked with those kids, those kickers in general, and all those kids for that moment. And that's what people don't understand, So it's a lot of people that deserve a lot of credit for that outside of any one of us, And I give all honor and glory to God for anything that happens, and that's just how I am. So that's the way I look at it.
Matt Daniels said that his guys, obviously the Vikings got greedy. What do you, and he said it was more of what they didn't do than what you guys did. What do you make of those comments?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like some of our kids, like their social media, those guys, they brought it up and stuff like that. But me personally, what I'm focused on is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like we got a huge challenge going. Those AFC North teams, in terms of special teams, they all play outside. They all got good players. The special teams coach over there, Danny Smith, is a coach that trained me. I was lucky I had two 30-year veterans that I started with. Joe Marciano, all right, and then Danny Smith. And he's been doing it 31 years, 13 years at Pittsburgh. That's where my focus is, to help my guys this week, because we're going to have to be ready to rock and roll this week. All right, if we want anything to happen this week, like it did last week. And I'm just happy for our players, but we've turned the page and we worried about the Steelers. That's the only thing we can worry about, is going 1-0 this week.
You're not on social media?
I don't get on social media. I really don't. And the reason why I don't get on social media is because, first of all, I don't know how to work all that stuff. All right. and second of all, I tell our kids to stay off of social media if they can, because they don't need validation from anybody. What they need to do is work. They don't need to worry about what anybody says about them negatively or positively. It doesn't matter. And especially not from anybody that has to hide behind a computer screen anonymously to say their opinion of you. Leave it out of there and worry about what's in our building. That's all we worry about. What's in our building, and have faith in our guys and faith in our mission and which way we going to get this job done for the Bears.
Thanks, guys. DA's here and assistants are out here as well.
Thanks.